going to talk about metallic bonds. So previously we have talked about ionic bonds, we have talked about covalent bonds. Ionic bonds were, bonds which was formed in between a metal and a non-metal. And covalent bond is a bond which is formed in between non-metals and non-metals, sometimes non-metals and metalloids. What about, metals and metals? What about metals forming bonds with a metal? Is that possible? Actually, yes, it's also possible. That bond is called metallic bond, and metallic bond is a bit different than the covalent bond and ionic bond because there is no, donation of electron or receiving electron. There is actually releasing, the metal in the metal structure, electrons, move freely, but that's not exactly donation, but also donation at the same time. So we're gonna find out. We're gonna, learn everything about it, every single details about it. So let's go into that. So metallic bond is a type of bond that is present in a chunk of metal. We have seen so many types of metal. Say for example, iron is a metal, copper is a metal, zinc is a metal, gold, silver, platinum, name it. You have plenty of metals surrounding you, right? So in these metals there are metallic bonds. In these metals, the metal atoms are attached together. If you take a piece of iron, if you take a chunk of iron bar, if you take a chunk of gold, if you take a chunk of silver, if you take a chunk of sodium as well, these are metals, right? And in these metal chunks there are plenty of metal atoms which are so tacked together. So what makes them stay together? What is the sorcery here? So we're gonna find it out. And there is no sorcery actually. This is actually pure science, and the science behind it is that the atoms stay together. They remain together because of metallic bond. And what causes this metallic bond? The reason metallic bonds are created because metals have some special characteristics, right? So in the periodic table we have seen that metals are usually on the left side of the periodic table, and as you start to move from left to right, the metallic properties start to decrease and the non-metallic properties start to increase, right? So what happens over here is what makes metals metals. So metals are called metals because they can easily donate electron. Not, yes, obviously they are shiny, they can conduct electricity, they have thermal conductivity. Those are the physical properties. But according to chemistry, what is the reason that metals are called metals? Because they can easily donate electrons. So metals have this property of donating electron. And metals metals have a bigger atomic radius. Their atomic structure is way more bigger than non-metals. That's why their nucleus is quite far away from the outermost energy level, which makes them able to donate electrons very easily. So we have seen that metals can donate 1, 2 or 3 up to 3 electrons really easily. So in a metal chunk, you can consider this a metal chunk. These are called atomic cores. Why they're called atomic cores? They're called atomic cores because the metals can easily donate electrons, right? So what they do is they release these electrons. Okay, see, these are the electrons which have been released from the outermost energy levels of these atoms. And when the atoms release the electrons, they become positively charged, and that's why they are called atomic cores or positively charged ions as well. So these two ions should repulse together, right? They should distract together. There should be a repulsive force in between them. But despite of that repulsion force, they are staying together. So what's the reason? What's the deal here? The deal here is this, this electron over here, this makes them stay together. Both of these positive charges are attracted by these electrons, and that's why they're staying together. That's make it happen. That's the main case over here that makes it happen to make the metal ions stay together. Here we have a definition. Metallic bond is a type of chemical bonding that arises from the electrostatic attractive force between conduction electrons and positively charged metal ions. These are called conduction electrons. Also, these are called delocalized electrons. Why they're called conduction or delocalized electrons? Because they can move freely. They can move really easily in the metal ion. Sorry, metal bar actually. They can easily move around it, and they're like totally free. And when these electrons leave the outer, where they used to be when they leave the outermost energy level, then those atoms, they actually become positively charged. So these are called metal ions or atomic cores, and there is an attraction force in between them which helps these metal ions to stay together. You might want to know that what is the you might want to know that what is the purpose of doing this, or what's how does this mechanism of metals or metallic bond help a metal. So metallic bond is the main reason that why metals can conduct electricity, why metals can conduct heat. Even metals are are really shiny, right? They're really bright, and the reason why metals are really shiny is also these delocalized electrons. So why metals appear so shiny? The reason is when heat is being provided, when the metals absorb heat, if it absorbs a small amount of heat, then what happens is these delocalized electrons, they consume the heat and they start to vibrate at their atomic radius or their atomic structure. Okay, and that you know that and at the, they start to vibrate, and at the same time they release the heat, or they release the energy, and when they do it, they actually reflect the light, which actually appears to us, or which makes the metal shiny, appear shiny in our eyes. So this shininess or this brightness of metals is actually created by these delocalized electrons. They absorb energy and they actually reflect the energy in form of light, which makes the metal shiny. Also, these delocalized electrons help metals to conduct electricity. They also help the metal to conduct heat. Metals are thermal conductive. That means they can conduct heat. So that is also possible for these delocalized electrons. Also, metals are really flexible, and they are they're they have some other properties, like they have ductility, they have malleability. All these characteristics they have, that is also because of this metallic bond, and metallic bond is created by these delocalized electrons and these metal ions, which are also known as atomic cores. There is an attraction force in between them, which reduces the repulsion force in between these positive charges. Usually positive and positive charge, they should distract, right? But they don't distract each other. Instead, they are attracted with the electrons, which are moving freely around the metal ion, and that's what helps these atomic cores to stay together and create a metal chunk or metal bar. Okay, so yeah, let's talk about the metallic, let's talk about the metallic properties. Say, for example, how these delocalized electrons, help to conduct electricity, how these, delocalized electrons help to conduct heat, how they show thermal conductivity. Let's find out those.